Live!
We are live.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to this long awaited but never outdated cool episode one of Peter's Peeps podcast.
So true, dude.
Uh,
Everyone's been waiting for it. This is gonna be a groundbreaking podcast that'll shake everything that everyone has ever known about podcasts. Um,
oh, yeah, this was going to be the coolest, possibly horniest podcast.
oh God,
I don't know.
I don't know. Trying to check where I had my little thing we're doing for today.
Oh, yeah, we got a very, very special plan,
There it is.
or a very special thing planned for you guys today.
Yeah.
Yeah. Let me pull up my list. I literally just woke up, so
I also just woke up, so we're gonna be
yeah,
very, we're gonna be very professional here.
yeah. This was the only time we could record. So
Yeah. I'm kind of at a spot right now, everyone, where I can't really record unless my fucking mom is gone. Yeah, dude. I'm at that like fucking bedtime shit, bro. I'm not gonna lie.
yeah, he doesn't want to be loud for his mom,
Yeah, I don't want to. I don't
but
want to
it's
be
okay.
yelling and shit about new metal with my mom in the room, guys. So yeah, we're kind of at that point. But all that matters right now is that we're live, straight from the gas station. You know. So today's
Wow, the
episode.
J.G. Allen concert.
Today's episode. If you can't already tell by the title, little dumbass, it's top 50 new metal albums of all time. Um, we made sure just because like I mean, there's not like a whole lot of new metal albums to begin with that are like amazing. So we made some leeway. It can be like it can be kind of like kind of new metal, you know. It can be alternative metal. It can be anything that's within that realm. So
It could be radio rock with some hidden sprinkles of new metal, if
yeah,
that's what you prefer.
I have um, a couple reaches, I guess, but I mean, oh well.
All right, let me pull up my list. And but before anything, I want to say I got this idea from Garza's podcast. They also did a top 50 new metal list for themselves. Or no, I think they just looked it up. But this is a little bit different, where we each made our own top 50 list, and we're gonna compare it
Hmm.
through each one. But yeah, you guys check out Garza's podcast if y'all haven't already. He's the guitarist for Suicide Silence, and he does a pretty cool podcast. So Chris Garza, you're getting a shout out by
Yeah,
this
he's gonna get a whole lot of
podcast. No
attention.
one, yeah. But all right. Okay, I have my list pulled up.
I also have my list pulled up. So, I feel like to make this not like weird, we're gonna do like say I'm first. I'll be like, hey, my top 50 is such and such by such and such, and then you would list your 50, and then I would list my 49, and you list your 49. So we're gonna go down from 50.
Yeah,
Uh,
and we're gonna have a lot that we're gonna say already. You know what I mean? Like so, if we have one that we can say a lot about, then cool. Then the other person doesn't really have to say anything about it, and
yeah,
we can just skip it.
yeah. I mean, we
If
don't
you
have to
want.
like explain it at all, you know, and also, there's gonna be some repeats between the both of us, obviously. I can already tell that the top 25, maybe even 30, will probably almost all be repeats. Because, I mean, It's kind of,
because of the legendary.
yeah. I mean, I wouldn't put like top 30 as legendary, but yeah.
Some of mine, I'd say, are legendary.
Oh, I'm sure like the top 10 are very, very good to legendary albums, but I wouldn't put like, you know, number 29 or 28 as like one of the best of all time.
Well, I guess we'll see then. I guess we'll get started. Top 50 new metals of all time, ranked according to us. This is our opinion. If you have another opinion, or you don't feel like that this is right, you can post your own little list in the comments or whatever you want to do.
We're gonna read it all. We are going to stare at your list and we're gonna judge you for it. We're gonna be like, hey,
Well,
why isn't Drowning Pool at number one? All right,
no.
so who wants to go first? Would you rather, or do you want me to? Because my number 50 is it's something.
Okay, all right. Well, here I'll just go first. So my number 50 is the album Edema by Edema.
This is the kind of shit we're starting with. All right, this is what I mean when there's not a
It's
whole
not
lot of
terrible album.
great new metal albums, but all right, it's only gonna get better from here. Just keep that in mind. But right now, we're gonna have to slog through some interesting picks. Uh,
Well, I mean, it's not a bad it's not a bad
it's
album.
not
Like
bad.
there's some good
It's actually not
things.
on
I
my
mostly
50.
remember it.
I'll say that it's
I
not on my
mostly
50.
remember it because of all the video games. A lot of the songs were on.
Oh yeah, it's one of those nostalgia new metal bands.
Yeah,
It,
that's really why I
yeah.
picked it. What's your number 50?
All right, so I'm not gonna lie, this pick is a little bit interesting. It's to spice things up a little bit. My number 50 is "Every 6 Seconds" by Saliva.
Oh God.
And
Uh,
the reason why I put this, it's not an album that I unironically enjoy whatsoever. The production's very bad. It's very staticky. If you listen to a lot of it, your ears just start to. It's like your brain starts melting. There's so much distortion on it that it like sucks, and it's just nothing but like groovy new metal riffs the entire time. But a lot of the games and a lot of the wrestling that I used to watch would have Saliva in it. And I'll admit, I don't hate a couple Saliva songs off this album. They're tolerable, maybe.
no, they're great. What do you mean?
But
It's all about the hooks.
take a ride in a dope ride.
Yeah,
Click,
you're just getting caught in the
click.
stereo. Hear me on the radio.
What the hell is wrong with me? My mom and dad weren't perfect.
It was like the height of that like Monster Energy "fuck you
Oh,
mom" type of new metal.
oh
Honestly,
yeah, it's
originally
Kyle
by Limp
Core
Bizkit.
all the way. But yeah, that's my
Uh,
number 50.
Alrighty,
What's your
I'll,
49?
I'll do my 49. My 49 is an interesting one. This is the album Statement from Nonpoint.
Okay, you know what? I actually don't hate that pick. Um,
It's
it wasn't
it's pretty
on.
good.
It wasn't on my 50, and I was thinking about it. Um, but it just barely didn't make it. I mean, if I were to have it on, it would probably replace every 6 seconds. Uh,
Yeah, but Nonpoint's an all right band. Just like I'd say if you're gonna listen to Nonpoint, listen to their earlier stuff. Like Statement is, I believe their second album, if I'm correct.
I think it
But
is. Yeah.
but yeah, like just think of them as like just a sister band to Seven Dust, if you will. I mean, y'all know Seven Dust, and you probably all know Nonpoint. So I don't even know why I'm explaining this to you, but give it give it a chance. It's not too bad. What's your 49?
um, to a lot of basic people around the world, this pick might ruffle some feathers here.
Oh no.
My number 49 is 3 Days Grace's 3 Days Grace, their first album.
I thought you hate 3 Days Grace.
I do, and this is my favorite 3 Days Grace album. And it's number 49. So,
But you hate 3 Days Grace. How's it on a top 50 new metal?
well, the reason why I don't like 3 Days Grace is that after this album, they kind of went down this very generic, um, at the very most alt metal, but usually alt rock kind of thing. And they were played on the radio. I think that album 1X is like one of the most bought rock albums of all time or something. It's like
Yeah, it is.
multi-diamond. um, but it's
It's
just
not
not.
bad.
I mean, the album isn't horrible. It's just after that, like you have an okay album with their self-titled, and then you have a very meh album with 1X to me, and then after that it's just straight garbage, especially the newer ones. Like like if you've heard 3 Days Grace, the newest albums are straight up just terrible.
Well,
Um,
yeah, since they changed singers,
yeah,
it has
I mean their old singer is fine, but it's just not my thing. The reason why this is on the top 50, um, out of a 10, I would give this like a 6, I guess. It's a fine record. It's it's very generic. It's very repetitive. It's very basic. But I mean, it gets you in the mood sometimes. There's a couple decent songs on here. Um, I do somewhat recommend the album. Just don't listen to the entire thing, I guess. Uh, there's a couple of songs on there that just aren't very good. But yeah, I mean, it deserves to be on here. It's at the very top of the list, and I think that's where it should stay.
all right. Well, my 48 is a little known band called Cold Chamber. That's
Okay,
right.
which one?
Just their first one,
Oh wow, Cold Chamber.
which
Was that self-titled?
which yeah, it's just self-titled by Cold Chamber. Yeah, I'm not the biggest Cold Chamber fan, but they're I mean, they have like a really good image, I guess you could say, and their music isn't too bad. They were one of those like Slipknot kind of. I don't want to say rip off bands because it's not, but derivative of that. And a little known thing from what I know about Cold Chamber is that they broke up in the middle on stage, and it was funny. I forget which concert it was. It's like it's some concert in 1999, but they literally broke up on stage in the middle of a concert. They said, "This is the last Cold Chamber set ever," or something.
That's so fucking stupid.
It's because like I think uh, one of the guitarists or something they hit him with a guitar, like the vocalist, and and that was the last straw. So
Wow,
I know
insane.
it's pretty great.
All
What's your
right.
48?
My number 48. It's by a band who will be on here a couple more times. This one is Nothing Face Pacifier. It's their second album technically.
Oh,
Um,
interesting.
I actually reviewed this album for what's called my discography project pretty recently. I had it a couple months ago, and the reason why it's number 48 is that it's kind of like out of the three Nothing Face albums that they first came out with before they started changing up their sound with their '03 record, I think. Um, it's probably the
Still
weakest.
a good record.
It's still good though. Like there's a couple good songs on here that are just like they haven't really found their sound yet, so to speak. They're kind of just like think like what you know of Nothing Face. So like 98 to 2000, but add some like generic corn in there. um, it's a little more raw. It's a little more unhinged, I guess, from their other albums. but they haven't really found their sound yet, and they kind of like there's a couple boring songs on here. There's a couple not as good songs, but there's a couple highlights, and it's fine. I think it deserves here, and their other albums will be on here, so stay tuned.
Nice. No, I got a couple Nothing Face albums on my list too.
Yeah, they're a good band.
So yeah, not bad. Check them out if you haven't. Nothing Face. The vocalist unfortunately passed away. I think almost 10 years ago. But
More than 10 years ago, I think.
oh yeah,
I don't actually know.
I think it's
Maybe not. Maybe not. Maybe not. Let me actually. I'll look it up later.
all right, all right.
Just keep that in mind.
I believe it's 2014, but it doesn't matter. All right, my number 47 is actually a very interesting pick.
Oh boy.
It's not a lot. It's not something a lot of people necessarily respect or like.
Oh boy. Oh no. What is this gonna be?
uh, this is "Devil Without a Cause" by Kid Rock, and I have a reason why I put this on here.
What is that?
It's because this album, love it or hate it, was a mainstream access for a lot of people that got into nu metal, like to get into nu metal.
Right.
Um, Kid Rock. I mean, I'm not a big fan of Kid Rock whatsoever, and I don't think a lot of
advisory warning.
Yeah, I might get a lot of hate for that, but
I don't know if you will, man. I don't think anyone respects Kid Rock anymore.
But he had a lot of let's say cred with like people who are fans of country and people who are fans of rap music, and he was kind of combining like that and rock music, like rap and rock music. It has like a very distinct, almost nu metal sound, and so I believe it was just a lot of people's like first open door to that kind of genre of music, and it kind of pushes that a little bit. It's like one of the biggest selling albums like at that point, like of the late 90s. So I gotta respect that.
It's a respectable pick. It's just you know.
It's Kid Rock.
Yeah, it's Kid Rock. The musical content on it, I wouldn't say is anything special, and that's putting it lightly.
It's not.
It really isn't. It's dated like hell. It kind of sucks, but it was a very good gateway for a lot of people to get into nu metal, and that's why I think it's worthy of at least being on the top of the list.
All right, what's your 47?
My 47. I'm surprised this isn't lower on the list, as in like 30s ish. This is Anthology by Alien Ant Farm. Talk about another band that a lot of people don't really like respect. Alien Ant Farm, I think, gets a little too much hate. There's this kind of like a wave that they are just like garbage, and people only know them for their Smooth Criminal cover, which that cover isn't amazing, but I don't think it's that bad. But yeah, there's a couple decent songs on here. I'd recommend Courage and Movies. Those two songs are definitely highlights of the album, and overall, it's not even that bad of an album anyway. It's just kind of like, very solid, like what you would expect, kind of nu metal.
I'd even go as far as to say that they're one of the most underrated acts in nu metal. Like they don't get
you could
credit.
say that. You could say that. Yeah, I don't know why they get so much hate. They're not like anything terrible. I mean, I think I'd rather hate like something like Cold Chamber more than Alien Ant Farm.
Hey, a lot of people like Cold Chamber.
Yeah, I don't know why, man. But yeah, that's gonna be for my 47.
All right, I'm not gonna lie. Anthology is one of my lower picks, so
that's fine.
When we get there, I'll just, since we've already said enough about it, I'll just skip over it.
All right.
So my 46 is Welcome by Taproot.
Oh, okay. This is where we start getting into the juicy stuff, right?
All right. Taproot, I think, is still around.
I don't. I mean, maybe.
But yeah, I'd say this is probably their best album. I mean, their second one isn't too bad either. The riffs on here are some of the heaviest you could probably come across in this genre.
It's very
Like,
interesting. Um, like Taproot is kind of so they're so extreme on both ends. You get soft like post grunge sometimes from them, and then you get like really heavy, gross riffs that are like near like they're so down tuned. I think they're like drop A or something or drop B. It's just like nasty, and I mean it's not bad. It's just not amazing, and they really flip flop between the two.
and then cue that with like I hate my dad whining, and that's what Taproot is.
Yeah.
Hey,
Um,
what could you ask for? What could be better?
Musically, I don't think Taproot's that bad. Um, I think if they had a better frontman, a better vocalist, Welcome could have been in like my 20s or my 30s on this list. Um, Unfortunately for me, they did not make that list for me. Taproot has no place on my top 50.
Oh no, no.
But overall, the vocals are definitely the weakest part. But if you're able to, like, ignore that a little bit, then I think Taproot's actually not that bad.
All right. Well, what was it? Are we on? Yeah,
Yeah,
46.
we're on 46. My 46, this actually might be an unpopular opinion with you. Um,
Uh-oh.
I may have shafted an album that you like. Um, my number 46 is Animosity by Seven Dust.
No, it's a great
Seven Dust
album.
Seven Dust is one of the bands that will be on here a couple times between me and Alex. Um,
Seven Dust is great.
yeah, I do like myself some Seven Dust. I do think out of the three really good Seven Dust albums, that this one is the weakest. I would put Home and Seasons, which they will both be on here. Um, but out of all of those three, it is still not even a bad record. It really shows how solid Seven Dust is as a band. Um, Animosity has a couple good highlights, but the album itself, it's inconsistent. It has a couple good songs, but the rest are just kind of like, I wouldn't say bland, but kind of like in the middle, you know? But nonetheless, it still deserves to be on this list, and it's a very solid album overall. But yeah, that's why I have it up there and not.
It's a great album. All right. My 45. This is a bit of a stretch. Some people probably wouldn't even call this new metal, but it still fits that kind of theme. Year of the Spider by Cold.
Oh, okay, interesting. You
Yeah.
actually have it higher than I have it. You're gonna be interested in what I have it.
Oh,
Yeah,
oh, interesting.
yeah, I have it on this list. I think you can call it new metal. Yeah, I think you're.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, it more borders on like the radio rock kind of territory, but it still has that nostalgic sound if that's what you're looking for. It's kind of similar to bands like, I don't want to compare Stain to them, but like Crossfade, like
There
maybe,
you
or
go. Yeah.
they're like a slightly less heavy Breaking Benjamin.
A
But
slightly
yeah,
less
no,
good
there's
Breaking Benjamin.
but there's some good songs on here. Check out like I think it's 3 singles. It's like Remedy, Suffocate, and Stupid Girl. So I mean, those are some good songs.
Yeah, they're
But yeah,
solid.
check out "Year of Lay Spider" by
The Eye of the Spider.
"I Have Lay Spider" by Cold. Yeah.
Yeah.
What is your 45?
Speaking of Breaking Benjamin, my number
Oh yeah,
45 is Phobia, their 2006 record. This is the one with their like hit, Diary of Jane. Um, that song is very solid. I wouldn't say it carries the whole album, but that is a very good song. But there also is a couple other ones like Until the End is on there. That's a very good song. Um, the whole album is littered front to back with either good songs or like passable songs, like pretty good, but not like within the realm of anything like super good. Um, it's not one of those albums where it's very inconsistent. It's a very consistent record, um, with a couple highlights on it. Overall, very good album. It's just kind of hard to describe Breaking Benjamin. They kind of flip flop between alt metal and new metal and
there's
that sort of
Radio
radio
Rock.
rock. Yeah. So yeah,
Speaking
I
of,
recommend that.
speaking of Breaking Benjamin, my number 44 is "We Are Not Alone" by
Oh,
Breaking Benjamin.
interesting pick. Okay.
So I think this album doesn't get enough praise. I feel like there's a lot of good singles that hold up on this album. It's in a lot of games too, which I enjoy. I'm a big SmackDown versus Raw fan. Uh, but yeah, no, it's a great album. I wouldn't say it's like anything groundbreaking, but if you're just looking for that hard rock kind of itch, with some nostalgic vocals, like give Breaking Benjamin a try. You know, if you haven't already, you probably have, and that's okay.
Breaking Benjamin has like highlights on every album. It's kind of weird. Like they're
No,
very
they
consistent.
still hold up. They still sound the same today.
Yeah, and that's not even a bad thing either.
Nah, no, not at all. What's your number 44?
My number 44, it's a little bit of a stretch, I'd say, but I think it's worthy of the spot. This is Roots by Sepultura. Um, Overall,
New
Sepultura,
metal.
yeah, this is absolutely a new metal album. Um,
Huh.
it's very strange. I haven't listened to this album front to back, but I've listened to most of the tracks, and I think that's enough to kind of put it on this list. Um, Roots by Sepultura is that kind of period where they shifted away from their typical kind of heavier extreme metal kind of sound, and they went for groovier, new metal, alt metal kind of stuff, and it's actually not bad. Obviously, there's the song of Roots, Bloody Roots, which is a classic. Um, I think that's a very good song. But overall, it's a very consistent record. Everything on there, I wouldn't say is a bad song at all. I think every single song is somewhat good. Um, but it's just not in that tier of its own where every song is like great, like um, there will be moments where like you'll tune out or a couple songs where it's like, this is okay. But I think it's a very solid record and worthy of the number 44 spot.
Yeah, Sepultura. All right, 43 for me is the Nothing Face record, an audio guide to everyday atrocity. Uh,
Interesting.
this is the album that got me into Nothing Face. There's some great songs on here. Error and Excellence is a great song.
True.
The Sick is a I think that
True.
was the first song I heard by them. That was a good song. Um, but yeah, like everything you want about like just dark, gritty, kind of early 2000s, late 90s kind of metal. It's all put into this album, and it sounds great. Uh, give this record a try.
Yeah.
That's all I got to say.
It is on my list, and it's actually higher, a lot higher than where you put it. So this is going to be interesting when I pull it up again. So keep that in your head.
All
Um,
right.
my number
Wait.
43 is Fallen by Evanescence. Uh,
Oh, that's actually higher on mine.
Interesting. Okay. This album is probably one of the most popular quote unquote new metal albums. You can kind of call it whatever you want: alt metal, new metal, even some radio rock if you really want to stretch it a little bit. But there's definitely some metal on here. It's their first, it's their debut record, I believe. Um, it has like a couple like classics of the new metal generation. Like "Going Under" is a solid song. "Bring Me to Life" is meme worthy, but it's also still a solid song. Um, those two stick out obviously the most in my head. Um, "My
It's a great
Immortal," I
gateway
believe,
album.
is on this album as well. Also a very good song. Um, Front to back, I wouldn't say it's extremely consistent. I think there's a couple, not bad songs, but kind of like mediocre that kind of weigh it down a little bit from me putting it higher on the list. But overall, very solid record, very popular record, and worthy of my number 43 spot.
All right. Well, I think you pretty much went through that album pretty good, so I'll just skip it when I get there.
All
Well,
right,
I'll make note of it, but where are we at? 42.
42.
Yeah, it's gonna be a long video, y'all. Uh, 42 is Hollywood Undead.
Oh my god.
The reason why is because I feel like out of all the Hollywood Undead albums, this is probably obviously their best, their debut.
Yeah, is that
Um,
Swan Songs or what's this called? Or is it
oh,
just
is that
Hollywood
what?
Undead?
Oh, you know what?
I
It
think it's
might be
Swan Songs.
called
That's what
Swan
we're talking about
Songs.
here. I think that's what we're
That's
talking about here.
yeah. Sorry, that's an error on my part. I'm fucking
All good,
dumb.
all good.
Uh, but yeah, no, it's a pretty good album. It blends rap and some good rock in it. A lot of it is a little cringy, but I mean, I still look past it. It's still all right. This is the only Hollywood Undead record that's worth revisiting, in my opinion. Nothing against Hollywood Undead,
I think
but
I can have something against Hollywood Undead. I'm not gonna lie.
yeah.
I'll say this is not on my list because I actually didn't have it as new metal. I was more thinking it was that kind of crunk core kind of vibe, that MySpace era. But I
Well,
think
nah,
it is
Crunkcore
fine
is
to be on the
different.
list. I believe it is worthy. I think it's fine, but it is not on mine, which is perfect because it means less repeats.
All right.
All
What
right, here
what
we
is
go. All right, this could get some people riled up. My number 42 is "The Sickness" by Disturbed, their debut from 2000. Um, the reason why it's at 42 and not higher, I really think this album has not aged well whatsoever. Um, it just flat out hasn't. I think
a
literally
lot of
every
people
other
like
album
this?
has aged better. Believe has aged better. 10,000 Fists has aged better easily. Um, but The Sickness still, even then, is not bad. I think it's a pretty solid record. It has a couple clear highlights, like Down to Sickness, obviously. That's a classic. Everyone knows that song. But Stupefy is a very good song. The Game is not a bad song either. I recommend that one too. There's a couple highlights on here, but I don't think the way it aged makes it any higher than the 42 spot. So that's where I'm going to leave it.
All right. It's very low. 41 for me is Get Some by Snot.
Interesting. Okay.
I put that because when you really look back at it, it is kind of a groundbreaking kind of album. I mean, the vocalist tragically, I think he died. I'm not sure, but this was one of their only releases. But you can tell, like, just when you listen to it, that, you know, this band was probably going to be something at some point.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Uh, I mean, if you were to give it like a few more albums, this band probably like would have been on fire.
Yeah.
Like
I
I
I feel
feel
like they
like
would have blown up.
Yeah,
Snot, from
definitely.
what I've heard, I'm not the hugest Snot fan in the world. From what I've heard, Snot is a very unique band. They really pushed what they could do with rap metal and new metal in general. They even have some like punk in it sometimes. It's very interesting, and I think Get Stum is a fine record, and I'm actually surprised that you have it this high on your 50s.
Oh, interesting. Well, you have some records that are pretty high on mine that you've already covered.
Yeah.
So,
Uh,
all right.
my number 41. This could be a stretch. It's by a new metal band, in my opinion, but this could be a stretch. My number 41 is Minutes to Midnight by Linkin Park. It is their third album.
Interesting.
It's their '06, I believe. '07, somewhere around there. This is the one with What I've Done. This is the one with Bleed It Out, those kind of songs. Uh, I did rate this on my discography project, but it was a very long time ago, so I do think it's due for a re-rate. Um, this album's fine. There's a couple very good songs on here. There's a couple good songs on here, and in my opinion, the rest are very bland. It's not a very consistent record at all. Um, it's decent, but it's not as good as you would want out of Linkin Park's previous two albums, which will be very high on the list, by the way. Um, it's underwhelming compared to those albums, and I think because of that disappointment factor, I think that's why it deserves number 41.
All right. Well, I just made a mistake. I just realized, and I don't have a 40. So, so we're just gonna have to skip to you. What's
All
your
right, well,
40?
my 40 is Getting Away with Murder by Papa Roach.
What the
Uh,
hell? Some Papa Roach snuck its way in here.
yeah, I mean, it's their third album, I believe. It's from '04. Has a couple good songs on it. That seems to be a trend around these earlier picks, is that it has a couple good songs, but the rest are kind of bland, and that's the same case here. Um, Getting Away with Murder, the title track is very good. Um, and like, I guess the rest of the songs, other than a couple, are kind of just like okay. But overall, I think Papa Roach is a little overhated. I'll say it, but they're not like, this is not a bad album by any means. It's pretty solid. I actually recommend it if you're having that edgy teenage youth phase.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, number 39, since I don't have a 40, is I've actually went through. I wanted to pick a couple new bands
Okay.
to kind of add to the fold. This one is the album Matrophagy or
Ooh.
Matrophagy by Tala. So Tala is a new metal band. Um, I forget where they're from, but they have a very interesting sound. They blend your classic kind of Mudvayne style riff filled new metal with like these hardcore kind of vocals and breakdowns, and it really works. It's a very experimental album.
It is
Like
batshit insane. It is
yeah,
pure
that's the best way
chaos.
I can describe it.
That entire album, front to back, has so much raw energy to it. It's like
Yeah,
insane.
but I mean it's pretty different enough to where like you could keep going back to it, and I think it just deserves at least some spot on the list. So that's why it's on here.
I'll admit, I have it at a similar position, but it's just a couple higher up. So I'll make note of that when it comes back up.
All
Um,
right.
my number 39. This is a newer record by an older band. This is The Serenity of Suffering by Korn. It's their 2016 release. Um,
What? Wow.
yeah, I think this album is very solid. It's definitely the best that they've made in that kind of time span. Even to this day, I think it's the best Korn record in the last, I'd say, 15 years. at least. Oh no, like 20 years maybe. Um,
So there's been some okay records that
there's
have
been a
come
couple
out.
okay ones, but Serenity of Suffering I think is overall a good album. Um, has a couple very good highlights. A Different World featuring Corey Taylor is a good song. Take Me is a good song. Insane's a good song. Just off the top of my head, um, all of those are great, and plus, it kind of has that kind of I wouldn't say like early Corn kind of thing, but early 2000s Corn definitely has that kind of vibe to it that they put and they modernized it, and I think it sounds really good on that record. Um, and I think it's a little underrated, so that's why I put it for my 39.
Noise. All right. So my 38 is the album Moto Grader by the band Moto Grader.
Uh,
There's not much to say about this album. There's a couple noteworthy tracks on it. Um, just your standard, typical,
it is very standard. I'll
yeah,
give it.
very
It is
standard
very
new metal,
standard.
but it's still good. Still good. The lead singer went on. I think he's Ivan Moody. I think he went on to be in Five Finger Death Punch. So that's really the only thing of note, and that is my 38.
Honestly, fine. Yeah, it is by Ivan Moody. If you want some Ivan Moody new metal, this is your one-stop shop. I
All
believe they
right.
made an album without him. I think, uh, kind of recently. I want to say like within the last 10 years, and it sucks. Don't listen to that.
All right. What's your 38?
My 38 is another Papa Roach record. It is
Oh
Infest.
my God.
It is their
What?
first
I have
record.
that higher.
Actually, I mean, I think it's a very good record overall, but the fact that it's 38, I think it kind of shows how good the albums above this are going to be. Um, Infest overall has lots of good songs and a couple very good songs,
It's
but
a
I think
classic.
the the rest of the album leaves a bit to be desired. Um, you'll get like straight certified hood classics like Revenge or Between Angels and Insects, and then you just get Papa Roach filler that sucks, and that's really what you get. There's a little bit of filler on this album. Um, Obviously, this is an album that birthed the ultimate meme, Last Resort, which, in my opinion, is fine. It's a very fine song, but definitely nothing special. But there's a couple actually pretty decent songs on here. Like I said, Revenge and Between Angels and Insects, and one I'm forgetting. I'm definitely forgetting a song that I really enjoy right now, but
Broken Home.
that one. And Dead Cell 2. There you go. There's a
Oh
couple other
yeah,
ones too.
that's
Yeah.
goes hard.
Those are all good records. Not good records, good songs. Um, and I think that's fine enough for me to put it on my 38. Maybe a bit high, but I think it's fine.
Number 37 for me is the album Crossfade by Crossfade.
Oh, interesting. I have that actually a lot higher on my list. So
Wow.
yeah.
Uh, so so out of all those bands that have like I want to call them like radio rock, hard rock bands with a little bit of new metal seasoning baked on it, um, I want to say that this one is probably the most solid or probably the best. Great vocals, great hooks on it. Um, there's a lot of songs that are very very memorable.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, Cold, So Far Away. I mean, things like or songs like that.
I
They
can
really
name
make this
like
record.
five good songs on that record off the top of my head.
Oh shit, a voice crack. We have our first voice in
Yeah.
the thing, ladies and gentlemen. But yeah, Crossfade is a great record. What is your 37?
My 37, unfortunately, it's a repeat. It's Matrophagy by Tala. We've already went over that. It's a very chaotic record.
Yeah, so we'll just
Yeah.
we'll just skip that then. All
36.
right, number 36. 36. Let me up. 36 is Godsmack by the band Godsmack.
Really interesting. Okay. Wow.
So
Godsmack on the list.
Yeah, Godsmack made the list, ladies and gentlemen. Don't listen to their new stuff. It's not too good. Uh, but yeah, Godsmack's earlier stuff though. I mean, really standard kind of new metal, but I mean, it's got those hooks, that can
It's
hook
very
you in.
catchy. I'll give it that.
Very catchy.
I'd give this album the same kind of range as I'd put Every 6 Seconds. It's
Uh,
that kind of very standard new metal, very catchy new metal. It's just production sucks. It's very muddy. Singer sucks. Oh well. What can you
All
do about
right.
it?
What's your 36?
I'm 36. Maybe it's a bit low on the list. Maybe I should put it in like the 20s, maybe. But I feel like my nostalgia goggles would give it in the 20s. So that's why I kind of shied away from it to give some other bands a spotlight. This is 10,000 Fists by Disturbed. This is their
Oh
2005
shit.
record. I very much enjoy this album. It's it has some straight up like classics. Has Stricken, one of my favorite new metal songs. It has 10,000 Fists, which is also very solid. Also has that Land of Confusion cover, which is also one of the best uh, metal covers of any song, in my opinion. But
Yeah, I can agree.
other than that, the rest of the album is very standard. Um, it's definitely what you would expect from that kind of era and getting from Disturbed. So there's not really much to say about it other than that. So I think that's why it's worthy of my 36 spot.
My number 35 is Disclaimer by Seether.
Is that their first record?
Yeah, the one with the lady.
Oh, the lady, yeah. Is that the one with Broken on it? The bad version of
Yeah.
Broken without Amy?
Yeah, I think there's two versions of
Yeah,
it,
yeah.
but
There's two versions of it. There's one with just Cedar, and then there's one with Amy from Evanescence, I think. And that one's on Disclaimer 2. So you get the bad
oh yeah,
version.
oh yeah, that might be Disclaimer too. Well,
Oh, well.
this album was a great debut. Just some few noteworthy songs. I feel like this band, they didn't start the butt rock phase, but like this was definitely a juggernaut album that kind of came from that. But it's got some new metal flair to it a little bit. Um, Definitely that early 2000s kind of nostalgic sound, and you can't really go wrong with this album. It's probably one of the best Seether albums.
Oh, definitely.
Give it a try.
It's in that same realm as like Puddle of Mud ish, but definitely a lot better.
Better than Puddle of
They're
Mud.
they're they're a lot better. I just mean same genre. That same area where they have that new metal flavored post grunge. So, yeah, I'd
I
recommend that
agree.
record. It is not bad. Um, I was thinking about having it close in the 40s in my list, but I was like, I need to put Every 6 Seconds for the memes. So it did not end up on
All
the
right,
list.
what?
However, I do agree that it is not a bad record.
It ain't bad. What's number 35?
My number 35, Limp BIZKIT. $3
Yeah,
bill, y'all. It is their
yeah.
debut record. All right, if you don't know already, we think Limp Bizkit's a little overhated.
I
um,
love Limp Bizkit. I
uh,
love you, Fred Durst.
he he's a master troll. He's so lovable. He's a funny dude, and he actually makes decent music. Sometimes there's a couple albums that he's made with
Sometimes, yeah.
Limp Bizkit that are straight up garbage, but it's okay. Um, $3 bill, y'all, is their debut. Even by this point, I feel like they had found their sound, and that sound happened to be very rappy new metal. Um, some tracks on this album straight up just go hard. Like the intro track. I'm trying to think the name of it. Um, what is it? What is it? I'm gonna look it up. I'm gonna look it up. I'm gonna look it up. Just in
Oh, here
case.
we go.
Just in case. Limp Bizkit. Come on. But yeah, $3 bill, y'all. It's Pollution. There you go. Pollution's a very good song. Counterfeit's a very good song. Um, Faith, that legendary cover that blew them up, still funny to this day. Um, I think this album is pretty solid front to back. I was actually very surprised when I rated it for my discography project that it rated so high. And I do recommend this album. I believe it is fine near that lower middle half of this top 50. So that's why it gets to number 35.
All right. I don't know if that fart was audible, but
You just ripped ass. This is so
yeah.
professional.
All right. 34 is a tie album for me.
Oh.
It is Hypnotize and Mesmerize
Okay. All right.
by System of a Down.
Um.
Um, this is where they kind of departed a little bit from new metal, but it's still kind of in there. It's got some good songs in it. It's not as good as their earlier material. Unfortunately, this was their last album. Um, they probably will never make a new one. So you
I mean, they
people,
made they made a 2-song EP that sucks recently. So don't listen to that, by the way.
there's like one okay song on it. It's not, but
It's not good.
it's not your return album
Yeah.
that you would want. But yeah, it's a pretty. Those two albums are pretty solid. Give it a shot if you love System of a Down. You can't go wrong with this. You probably have already heard it, but it's on my list. So
Hypnotized and
what is?
Mesmerized were actually going to be on my list, but we had a little bit of a conversation before this to where we didn't want to have like a couple bands flooding the entire list, and already have enough System of a Down picks, especially lower on the list. So I made sure to leave these two out as they're not really the most notable anyway. Um, but yeah, I do agree that they're very solid albums, but they're definitely a departure from their earlier stuff. So
All right. What's number 34 for Lil Peter?
this one I put in bold, and it's an impact font.
Oh God,
It also has an
that's not
angry,
good.
happy face, so you know this is gonna be good. This
Oh no.
might. Oh boy, this is gonna piss you off. Maybe number 34, Limp Bizkit. Again, chocolate starfish into hot dog flavored water.
I
This is
got that higher.
yeah. Number
Just
30,
letting you know.
number 34. Um, I'm not as big of a fan of this album as he is, in my opinion. I think it's a very solid record still, but there are a couple songs that definitely weigh it down. I literally know the track list; it's just burned in my head. But there's a couple very nostalgic, very good songs. Full Nelson comes to mind. Limited Up comes to mind. There's obviously
Hot dog.
Hot Dog is funny because he says fuck like every bar. Um, Rollin', obviously, it's hilarious. My Generation's a good song. Literally, most of this album is noteworthy. It's just not all of it is fantastic. And overall, insanely inconsistent record with a couple very good songs on it. And I believe, even though this was a very groundbreaking and the top-selling new metal album of all time, I believe number 34 is a very fitting spot for
I disagree, but I will get
it.
that soon.
We will get
All
there.
right. 33 is a repeat. It is Infest by Papa Roach. I think you covered that pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
So, what's your number 33?
This is also going to piss you off. Um, Number 33, Stained, Break the Cycle, their second album. Um,
Believe it or not, I have it higher.
really
Yeah.
insane. Okay, so we hate Stained around here. We do not like Stained around these parts. But Break the Cycle was it's after Dysfunction, which is like almost pure new metal with some post grunge. This kind of has like a healthy blend of both. Um, they definitely found their sound on this album. There's a couple very good songs on it, like For You. Outside is a nice ballad to sing along with the boys. um, those
Yeah.
two pop into mind immediately. I believe it's a very solid album. I think it's decent. It's a decent Stained album. It's probably their best in my opinion. And I put a
It's
frowny
all
emoji
right.
on it because I really didn't want to rate it at the side. But apparently you have it higher, so I guess it's okay. So number 33.
All right. Number 30. Where are we at? 32.
32.
All right. Mine is This Type of Thinking Could Do Us In by Chevelle.
Wow. Okay.
I know.
Wow.
But yeah, great album. It's got some good hits on it. The Clincher is really good. Vitamin R is a really good song. Chevelle is just a really underrated band, in my
Definitely.
opinion, and they often get overlooked in terms of that era. A lot of people just kind of consider them to be like a discount Tool or Deftones, and it's not really true. They got their own sound, and they do it. They pull it off very, very well. Um, but yeah, it's a great album. Not it's second only to the one before that, Wonder What's Next, which I actually have higher on this list.
I
So
also have that album higher on this list, so we will see who gets there first. Um,
yeah,
my number 32. This could be a little bit of a stretch, but I think it's in that same kind of realm. Number 32 is Flyleaf by Flyleaf. It's their self-titled. It's their debut from
interesting. You
2005.
consider that new metal?
I believe some songs on here you can definitely consider as new metal. They definitely have that raw energy for a couple songs, but they also have that kind of chill, kind of radio rock vibe for a lot of them. It's kind of like 3 Days Grace. They're in that same kind of area genre wise. I believe this album is very, very solid front to back. There's not a single like genuinely bad song on here. Um, Obviously, some like their hits off this album are definitely the highlights. So I'm so sick, trap banger right there. All around me, trap banger. Um, just genuinely fully alive, trap banger. All those songs are just genuinely great, and overall very solid record. So number 32.
Glad you said trap banger because my 31 is Trapped by the band Trapped.
How is trapped on your list, dude?
So I'm not a big fan of Trapped. I think they're kind of dorky. But this first album really was a lot of people's like open door kind of just to that side of music. Um, Headstrong was on the radio 24/7. I knew a lot of people who really enjoyed that song. Not me in particular, but you gotta give credit where credit's due. They're definitely a one-hit wonder. This is the only album I would kind of recommend. I mean, if you're really wanting
Don't
that,
listen to it front to back.
yeah, don't. There's a couple songs are okay, but uh, I'll give credit where credit's due. It's a very high-selling album, and yeah, Trapped, everybody,
I like when he made
Trapped.
fun of core kids for like an entire winter. I remember that.
Oh yeah, it was very professional of him.
Yeah.
What is number 31 for you?
Unfortunately, we have another repeat. My number 31 was Year of the Spider by Cold, which you already covered pretty well. So we will
All
skip
right.
that. What's
So,
your number
all
30?
right. Well, my number 30 is actually a very interesting one. Candy Ass by Orgy.
Interesting. Okay.
Uh,
Wow.
I put Candy Ass on here just because it's one of those albums that blend a lot of genres together, but still has that type of feel and type of sound. You can almost call it like an industrial kind of new
Yeah, you
metal, alt
can.
rock kind of sound.
Yeah, they're kind of like less heavy Cold Chamber. They have that
Yeah, but I
industrial
think
sound.
better than
They have that kind of like they blend like together a lot of stuff, and I think they're actually not bad, and they're very overlooked. Like no one knows about Orgy like at all.
I believe some Cold Chamber members are in Orgy,
Oh, well, that would make
if
sense.
I'm correct. But yeah, Candy Ass by Orgy, pretty good. What is your number 30?
it seems I have beaten you to that Chevelle race because my number 30 is Wonder What's Next by Chevelle. Um, I
All
believe
right.
at the very tail end of my 30s, I think it's a very solid record. Has absolute classics, like some of my favorite songs from that kind of era. Send the Pain Below comes to mind. The Red comes to mind. Um, both those songs are just straight up great, and they honestly carry the album quite a bit. The rest of the album, while not bad, it's very consistently solid. Um, there's not a whole lot of like super special tracks, but those two alone single-handedly pushed that album up quite a bit. So that's why it's in my number 30.
All right. I agree, even though mine is higher. All right. So this is the point in the video where you're going to see a lot of
Oh
repeats.
yeah,
So
oh
we're
yeah.
probably going to skip over a lot. My number 29 was higher than his. It was Anthology by Alien Ant Farm. We've already covered that. Um, what was your number 29?
My number 29, maybe a little bit low, and perhaps for the impact it had, you could definitely say this is a low on the list for it. But this is Sinner by Drowning Pool. It's their '01 record, the one that
Whoa.
blew them the fuck up. Obviously, everyone knows the song Bodies, but there's also a couple other good songs on here. Title track Sinner, very good. Tear Away, I remember listening to that at WrestleMania. Good song. The rest of the album, also solid. I don't even think there's like a single you can even call like bad song on it. I think it straight up you can bump the entire album and not feel bad about it. So I think for the start of the 20s, I think that's very solid. So that's why I put on 29.
All right. Mia, shut up. All right.
Mia cameo.
All right. Yes, my dog has made a cameo in this video. She's she's gotten in. My number 28 is Antichrist Superstar by Marilyn Manson.
Interesting.
So I know it's kind of a stretch to call this new metal. I mean,
I feel like that's the one album you can put on here actually, because I think it's the most new metal album that Marilyn Manson has.
I agree. It's definitely got that sound a bit. It's not like his other records. It's definitely a lot heavier.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Again, with that industrial flair, kind of like Orgy or I don't want to use Nine Inch Nails because they're not really new metal, but they're definitely comparable. Very very good album. A lot of Marilyn Manson's earlier stuff is really good. Um, but yeah, this one sticks out a lot. So
Yeah, I think that's a very
uh,
solid record to put there.
yeah,
Um,
so listen to this. It's got a few bangers on it.
I definitely
What?
missed Marilyn Manson. I should have put it on my list, but it's okay. I have a very solid list by itself, so
All
I don't
right.
want to
What's
replace
28?
anything. My number 28 will be an interesting pick, especially to you. This is Payable on Death by Payable on Death. This is their 2003 record. Uh,
I actually love that album.
it's a very good album. Aflex here, he showed me this album not too long ago, and honestly, I'm surprised I missed out on this considering I'm pretty well into POD by itself. Um, Overall, this is kind of that standard POD flair. It's not their best, which will be coming up pretty soon, but it is definitely close. And I believe this album is very solid front to back. Um, I don't think there's any tracks per se that lift it like super high. I think there's very good songs, but there's not like classics of the new metal genre on here, unfortunately.
It's consistent.
But it's insanely consistent. There's not a single bad song on here. Most of the songs are very good. So I definitely recommend it, especially since it's an overlooked album. If I were to recommend a track, it would probably be Asthma. But yeah, 28.
All right. 27. So little Peter doesn't really like this album too much.
Oh boy.
Uh, but I do. It is Lost and Found by Mudvayne.
Interesting. Okay. Um, Lost and Found. The reason why he says I don't like it that much, it has grown on me a little bit over time, but I'll let you do the explanation for this though.
It's I mean it's a good Mudvayne album. This was really like more of the radio exposure kind of stuff. It's it's good.
It's it is a good Mudvayne album, which in the grand scheme of new metal means it's a great album. Um, but it's not their best. It's not their best material. I do somewhat enjoy this album. It is not a bad album to me, but in my opinion, I would put like 3 other albums ahead of it, maybe.
All right.
But I do enjoy it. I think it's worthy of that pick, especially if you have it there. So I'll let it slide.
Where is okay? Number 26
My number
for me.
27. Hey, don't skip
Oh
me.
yeah, oh yeah. Whoops, sorry. Oh man, fuck me off. Fuck.
My number 27 is Violence by Nothing Face. Interestingly enough, I have that unpopular opinion where this is not my favorite. It is very close to being my favorite, which a repeat is coming up very soon. But Violence
Speaking of
overall, very solid album. It's one of those consistent albums that has one classic song in Bleeder, and then the rest is very good. I wouldn't say all the songs are as good as Bleeder, but honestly, that one song does lift the album up quite a bit, and the rest of the album is very solid and very consistent. So that's why I put it at number 27. What's your 26?
all right. Well, we got a repeat. My 26 is Violence by
Oh
Nothing
wow, look
Face.
at that. That's our first
So who
very
would have
close
known?
one. It was Violence. We're gonna start getting closer and closer the more we go down.
All right. So we're gonna skip that. What's number?
Here we go.
What is it? 25.
26 for me is Limp Bizkit, Significant Other. This is my favorite Limp Bizkit record. I like it more than Chocolate Starfish, and it's only by a little bit. Still not overall a fantastic record. I think there's a couple songs that do drag this down a little bit, but overall, I think this album is extremely solid. It has the songs that blew them up. Break Stuff comes to mind. I'm Broke comes to mind. 1999, solid song. Honestly, I can just list a bunch of songs, and they're all very good. But yeah, I think it's the most, like, it has the most depth out of the Limp Bizkit chronology. So that's why I put it at number 26.
All right. I agree. 25 is is Faceless by Godsmack. I think this is the best Godsmack release. It's got a few bangers on it. I'm not the biggest Godsmack fan, but this turned a lot of people on to that new metal kind of scene. It's very accessible.
It is very accessible. I'll give it that.
It's got a kind of a cool album cover, I guess. And yeah, that's about it.
Wow.
This is the halfway mark. So
Yeah, this is the halfway mark. My halfway mark, number 25, is definitely going to be very unpopular. This might start a flame war, some unnecessary flame wars in the chat. This is
shit.
Follow the Leader by Korn. Now.
Oh,
I believe that this album has not aged well at all. There's a couple classic songs on here, I'll admit. However, I rated this recently for my discography project, and I was somewhat left underwhelmed by such a popular release. Freak on a Leash, one of my favorite new metal songs, easily like top 5. Honestly, I think Got the Life is on it too, which is also a very solid song. But then you have absolute just horrible songs on it. Justin comes to mind. All in the Family featuring Fred Durst is one of the worst new metal songs of all time, if you even want to call it that. I don't even know if it's new metal. It's a rap. I don't know if anyone knows that song. It's a rap battle between Jonathan Davis of Korn and Fred Durst of Limp Bizkit, and they just say a bunch of homophobic shit at each other. They just call each other the F slur, the entire fucking
Oh,
song, and it's just straight up horrible. Don't listen to that, but overall, I think the rest of the album is fine enough for it to be lifted up by those two songs that I mentioned earlier. So I believe at the halfway mark, number 25 is a very fitting spot for it, considering it's such a groundbreaking release.
all right.
That's how he thinks
Number
about it.
20, number 24 is, speaking of corn, Take a Look in the Mirror.
Interesting. Okay.
So I recently revisited this album, and I found out, hey, there's some pretty good songs on here. Definitely, like, on this list, it's probably the lowest corn release I have, but it's pretty good. It's definitely corn. I mean,
It is
it has
definitely
some good
corn.
riffs and some earworm kind of riffs, and I Y'all Want a Single is a good song.
Right now comes to
Yeah,
mind.
right now, yeah, that's the one I was thinking of. Right now is great. Korn has a lot of good tracks, and yeah, this album definitely has a few of those. So go give that a listen.
Might as well call
What
this
is
the
your?
corn block because I have another corn album right next to
Oh
Follow the Leader.
shit!
Um, this one's also in the same boat as Follow the Leader. This is Issues by Korn. It is slightly higher. The only reason
Interesting.
why I put them so close together is that they both suffer the same problem of it not aging well at all, but having still very solid tracks on it. Um, Even on my discography project, I rated these 1 point apart. I think Issues was like a 69, and I think Follow the Leader was a 68 or something. Um, both these albums are fine, like front to back, but those songs, like "Make Me Bad," classic song, "Falling Away from Me," banger, trap banger. Um, but the rest of the album is just kind of meh. And but I do think those songs alone raise it enough to where I enjoy it a lot. So number 24.
All right. So 20 Trace is a little album called Seasons by Seven Dust.
Ooh, interesting. I have that a
So
lot higher. So we have a repeat.
so
We have another repeat.
personally, this is my probably my favorite Seven Dust record. It's so nostalgic for me. Every I'm not even gonna lie to you. Every single song on here
Oh yeah,
is just an amazing song. You like it's crazy.
it is so
The only
solid.
reason why, yeah, it's like one of the most solid releases. The only reason why I don't have this higher is because I think Home just edges it out by just a little bit more, just because it's uh, it's more consistent with new metal, and it's got some great songs that I mean everybody knows on there.
Hmm.
Um, but it's a great album. If you haven't listened to Seasons by Seven Dust, definitely recommend.
All right. My number 23
20.
is another stretch genre-wise, but it's within the same realm. This is Deftones self-titled from '03. The reason why I say it's kind of a stretch genre-wise is because only a little bit of this album is what you would call new metal. Um, but I think overall, I think it's enough to kind of put it on the list because there's a couple songs on here that definitely are. This record is one of the weaker ones, in my opinion, of the Deftones discography, especially earlier on. But that is a testament to how great they are, in my opinion, because this is number 23 on a top 50, and it's one of their weaker ones. So, um, a couple of tracks that come to mind that are absolutely just great are Hexagram, Needles and Pins, um, Minerva. Not even that much of a new metal song, but that's just a straight up, just great song. Um, and it's also one of those albums that you can just put on, and every single song is good. Um, There's a couple albums later on of Deftones' discography that aren't like that. And I believe I really appreciate that quality about it. So that's why it's number 23 on my list.
All right. Number 22. So we're gonna get a lot of repeats here. 22 is "Break the Cycle" by Stained.
It's so
Uh,
low.
you've you've already covered that. I mean, "Break the Cycle" is just a very um, a
Unique.
landmark
It's
album.
unique.
Love it or hate it, and
Mm.
I definitely hate it. So yeah, what's number 22 for you?
This is insanely sad. Both our 22s are repeats. Because my repeat is An Audio Guide to Everyday Atrocity by Nothing Face. So you've already explained that in depth. So I guess our 22s do not matter. So number
Well,
21.
my 21 doesn't matter too because we got another repeat. It's "Sinner."
Wow. Okay.
Sinner down.
This is where it starts getting funny, guys. My number 21 is not a repeat. We finally have something. It's another stretch genre-wise, but there's definitely a couple songs on here that you can make the argument for. It's "Make Yourself" by Incubus. It's their 1999 record. Couple songs in here
Interesting.
straight up are not new metal. I'll admit, especially their hits. Um, "Drive," not a new metal song. But "Pardon Me," you can make the case for. That's a very good song. And there's one "Stellar." There you go. "Stellar" is a very good song as well. Another album that is just solid front to back. There's no bad songs on it, and there's also those songs that lift it up too. And that's why I think I would put it above all those other solid front to back albums, because it has a couple songs that really lift it above the rest of the crowd. So that's my number 21.
I actually had that higher, so
Look at
we'll
that.
see. 20 is "Satellite."
I have that a lot higher. It's actually in my top 10, so that's interesting. That is very interesting.
POD. POD is a very underrated band.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, they are corny as fuck, but they are like the definition of good old fashioned new metal, and this record is probably them at their peak.
They make
It's
wholesome
got
new metal.
it literally has all the singles that you probably know, like "Satellite" and
Boom! Here
"Boom."
comes the boom! Ready or not! Here comes the boys from the south. Such a
Yeah,
good song, good album, and
yeah,
that's why I have it a lot higher.
it's pretty good. It has a few filler tracks, but I mean, it's still very solid. So yeah, so some POD for you.
Number 20. All right. This is the first appearance of a band that will make a lot of appearances. This is "All Hope Is Gone" by Slipknot. This is their
Who
2008
the hell is
release.
Slipknot?
Yeah, who the hell is Slipknot, guys? I promise you're going to hear a lot more of Slipknot in the top 20, top 10. This is my number 20 pick. This is one of their weaker albums. However, I think it is a little bit underrated. I feel like people give "All Hope Is Gone" a little bit of flack just because it's more radio friendly, it's more groove metally, it's not as dense sonically. I don't think it's not as heavy in some parts. There's a couple songs that are straight up very heavy, like heaviest that they have done. But I feel like those songs that everyone knows, "Psychosocial," "Sulfur." I don't like "Snuff," but some people do. Um, uh, I'm thinking of it. "Gematria," the Killing
Sulfur.
Name, very good song. All those songs are classic. Um, it's hard to say if they're new metal or not, because sometimes they do lean into that groove metal territory. But I feel like there's enough new metal on this album to make it on the list, and because of that, it is number 20. I think it's a very solid record.
Number 19 for me is a repeat. It is "Wonder What's Next" by Chevelle.
Okay,
I
I'm fine with
I
that.
love this album. It's great. You've already covered it, so we're gonna skip.
Number 19 could ruffle some feathers a little bit. This actually could be in
Oh
the top
man.
10. This is LD50 by Mudvayne. The reason why I put this so, I guess, high on the list would be it's actually not my favorite. It is not my favorite Mudvayne album. My favorite one's actually coming up very soon. It is not in the top 10. But overall, I think this album is very good. Has insanely good songs on it. It has Negative One's a good song. Internal Primates Forever is a good song. I'm trying to think of the name of it. I think it's Under My Skin or something. It's something like that. I'm gonna have to look up to
Oh no,
refresh myself with the thing real quick.
that's
Dig. There you
another
go.
album.
Dig. Death Blooms. Nothing to Gain. Under My Skin. All those are great. Everything and Nothing is a good song too. Um, However, the reason why it's not like top 10 or anything is because the rest of the songs leave a bit to be desired. It's not a very consistent record. I think you get a handful of very good songs and then a handful of very meh songs. And that's why it kind of drops it down a little bit to the number 19 spot. So that's where it is.
Number 18 for me is another repeat. Fallen by Evanescence.
Okay.
Very groundbreaking album. A gateway album for a lot of people. And yeah, so we're gonna skip.
My number 18 is Korn. Life is Peachy, their second album. I believe this
Interesting.
album is underrated. It is not like when people talk about Korn, they talk about self-titled and Follow the Leader, and that's kind of it. And this is that album that's sandwiched in between. Um, I even think this is quite a bit better than Follow the Leader. It has very solid track list front to back. There's a couple songs I'll admit that aren't great on this album, but I feel like the ones that are great are just so great that make it a lot better. It's their '96 record. Sorry, not '97. Um, if I were to recommend a couple songs, it would be No Place to Hide, um, Adidas, and Twist, because Twist is a classic in the new metal genre. So that's why it's my number 18.
Okay. So mine 17 is Home by Seven Dust.
Okay, I actually have
Um,
that slightly higher, but it's close. It is close.
all right. This album, I believe, kick-started like a lot of their popularity. The vocals on this are absolutely great. The new metal beatdowns are at their finest. There's just so many good songs. Waffle is a great song. They uh, did a feature with Chino Moreno from Deftones on Bender,
Great
and
song.
that goes pretty hard. Um, but yeah, no, this is a great album in the genre. One that's often a little bit overlooked, but it's great. That is my number 17.
My number 17, luckily, is not a repeat. It is Mudvayne, The End of All Things to Come. This is
Oh
my favorite
shit,
Mudvayne album. I know, it's
interesting,
crazy. This is interesting. I think it's just,
controversial.
it slightly beats out LD50. And the reason why is because it just has a better track list. Um, it's not inconsistent like LD50 is. It's solid from front to back. Every single song is like you can just put everything on, and everything's great. There are even a lot of highlights on this album, like Not Falling, Perversion of a Truth, Mercy Severity, Scrying, Patient Mental. Just off the top of my head, those are all fantastic songs. And this entire album, honestly, you could just put it in your boombox, just jam out on the street to it, you know? And that's why it's my number 17. Very solid album.
Yeah, I'll grab it on cassette if I'm able to.
My 8
Uh,
track.
Number 16, another repeat. We got "Make Yourself" by Incubus.
Okay.
Um,
Pretty close, considering that's my
very
21.
very good album. You've already covered it. It's Incubus. It's good. What's your 16?
My 16 is Slipknot, Volume
Oh,
3, the Subliminal Verses. Um,
interesting.
this is also one of those albums where you can kind of make the case that it's new metal, but it's definitely more agreed upon that this is more of a new metal release than All Hope Is Gone. This album only beats it out by a little bit, in my opinion. Um, it's a little, dare I say, overrated. Um, I don't think it's like top two Slipknot albums. Definitely top three. It's that third spot. Obviously, everyone knows this album. There's so many songs on it that are great. Duality is great. Before I Forget is one of my favorite songs of all time. Um, just in general, that whole album is very solid front to back, and it has those highlights to keep it, you know, keep it fresh and unique. They definitely went for a different, slightly more radio friendly sound with this one compared to Iowa, which will also be on this list too. And I think that is worthy of it making the number 16 spot.
Indeed.
Indeed.
15. Indubitably. Uh, 15 is Issues by Korn for me. Very underrated album. You've covered it. So,
I'm getting to all the albums before you.
yeah, you really are.
um, However, I say that, but then I have a repeat from you. Number 15 is Home by Seven Dust. Like you said, very solid record front to back. However, as you may notice, um, Seasons hasn't showed up yet, which means I like Seasons more, which is true.
Uh,
I like it. I like Seasons a little bit more, not a whole lot more, but it will be coming up soon, and that's a future repeat. So, skipping on
it's
to
a
you.
great album. All right, 14, repeat. We got Self-Titled by Deftones.
Interesting. Okay.
Uh, I think it's a big culmination of their sound. It's sometimes it's a bit more shoegazy than new metal, but the new metal tracks really hit hard. Um, you've pretty much covered it. So I mean, we're just gonna skip to your number 14.
My number 14 is also Deftones. However, it's not one of the big three albums. It is Diamond Eyes by Deftones. Um,
Oh,
I believe this album has enough new metal on it for it to make the list, and I think this is their most underrated record ever. Um, People kind of just put it's either Around the Fur or White Pony or sometimes Adrenaline in that kind of conversation of the top three. And while I do agree to an extent, Diamond Eyes should be left in the conversation as well sometimes. While I do think Adrenaline is a better record, um, it's just kind of it has so
it's
many
there.
highlights on it that push it up, and again the entire album is great. So you have Diamond Eyes, the title track, which is fantastic, and then you have things like Rocket Skates, which is a great song, or Royal, which is a good song, or You Know the Butcher, good song. Just off the top of my head. All of those are fantastic, and I think this is a fantastic record in general. So that's why it's near the top 10 at number 14.
Certified banger. My 13 is volume 3, so we're just gonna skip ahead.
We have another repeat. Number 13 is Seasons by Seven Dust.
Oh shit.
Yeah, it's one of my favorites. Very solid record, but you've already covered it, so up to you.
Alrighty. 12 for me, if I can find my 12, is The Sickness by Disturbed, which you had like super low. Um, it's a great
Really?
it's a great release. There's some good songs on here besides Down with the Sickness. So I mean,
I think it's a
it's
solid record, but it
yeah.
hasn't aged well, and it is fine that you put it there. It is just I do not agree. I believe it deserves on the former half of the list, but that is okay.
Then what's your 12?
My 12 is another repeat. It's Metrophagy by Tala.
Number 12. Wow.
Yeah, I love this record. I love how chaotic it is. I love how it meshes hardcore and deathcore and new metal together. It's very sick. It's very wicked and cool and rad. But we've already covered it, so up to your 11 now.
11 is one we haven't covered. This, I believe, is the best Disturbed record.
Oh.
This is Believe
Oh, wow.
by Disturbed. Um,
Okay.
it's a very, very consistent album. This is Disturbed, I believe, at like their height and at their peak.
It's also their
I
most
like this,
underrated because no one knows this album.
and it's probably their best in my
Yeah, it's
opinion.
so strange.
Uh, but yeah, no, I inch this above The Sickness just in terms of consistency. But great songs, Prayer, Awaken, title track Believe is great.
Remember?
If y'all haven't heard this yet, just give it a listen. It might become one of your favorites. So, what is your number 11?
I have a hot take.
Oh no!
I have a hot take.
Oh
Number
god!
11. Not in my top 10. Toxicity by System of a Down.
Interesting.
This is not my favorite System of a Down record.
What?
Yeah, it is not my favorite. However, it is so close. It is so minusculely close that, I mean, the next one is my favorite. And but number 11, just out. This is like an honorable mention to the top 10. Is Toxicity. I believe this album is a little bit overrated in the grand scheme of things. Like with new metal, the album is too long. the The album is very long, and there's a lot of filler to the point where it kind of drags down the experience a little bit. But the fact that it's number 11 and that I say these negative things about it kind of shows how great the album is in general. You have such bangers. You have Chop Suey. You have the title track Toxicity. You have Shimmy is a good song. Bounce is a good song. Just off the top of my head. But there's also a
Cigaro.
couple. What's up?
Cigaro.
I believe that's on Mesmerize, my friend.
Oh wait. Oh yeah, yeah. It is. Man, what am I thinking of? ATWA.
There you go. Yeah, that's on that record. That's a good song. But there's also just a couple underwhelming songs that just keep it out of being my favorite. And that's why it's number 11.
All right. Me number 10 is another repeat. We got Significant Other by LIMP BIZKIT
Wow.
by Shrimp Dixkit.
Oh, God. That just means Chocolate Starfish is in your top 10.
Oh,
wow.
yeah.
Oh, wow.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
You all know it is.
All right.
What's your number 10?
Number 10 is my favorite System of a Down record. They're self-titled. It's their first one. I think this album is underrated as shit. I think it's overlooked. When people talk about System of a Down, they usually talk about like Mesmerize and Toxicity as those like two. But no one really gives any love to this one. And it's interesting because I feel like this is System of a Down at their hardest. It's their hardest hitting album. There's also a couple great, more, you could say, like atmospheric tracks, I guess. More software ones, like Spiders, for example. War is a good song as well. Pluck is a good song. Sugar, obviously. That's like the main one that comes to mind. Darts is a good song. Honestly, all of them are just good songs. It's one of those albums that you can put on the entire time and not get bored. Everything is fantastic. It's a great record, and it's worthy of being at the very top of my top 10 at number 10.
Oh, yeah. All right. Well, then we're going to continue this top 10 with me. Number 9 is actually, I think it's a repeat. LD50 by Mudvayne. This is the best Mudvayne record in my opinion. I mean, I'm not going to go too far into it because you already did. But yeah, it's great.
I also have a repeat though. My number 9 is
here we go.
Satellite.
Oh, yeah.
It's my number 9 pick. The album, while it has maybe a couple, like 2 or 3 at the most filler songs, the rest of it is just so solid that it's become one of my favorite new metal records. and it definitely deserves to be in that top 10. Um, but that is also the reason why it's not like number 5 or anything, is because of those tracks. And that's the reasoning for it. And I'm not going to explain too much because you've already gotten into it. So what's your number 8?
It's pretty good. Number 8 is one we have not covered yet, and this is actually a big hot take. Number 8 is Around the Fur by Deftones.
Oh, wow. I have that a lot higher.
Crazy.
Interesting.
Yeah,
Okay.
this album, I mean, in my opinion, is Deftones at their best. In my opinion, there's no filler songs on this album.
Oh,
Like,
definitely not.
it's one of those albums you could literally listen front to back and not get bored or not get sidetracked. Like, it's just one of those albums you put on while you be quiet and drive far away.
And you have your own summer and shove it.
Oh yeah, yeah. Um, but yeah, I like this a little bit better than their self-titled, and I do like this a bit better than White Pony or their other self-titled. So, it's a great album. Listen to it if you haven't. You probably have. It's awesome. It's legendary. That's my number 8.
That's a fine number 8. Mine is a lot higher, and unfortunately, my number 8 is a repeat and a little bit of a hot take, I guess. This is Crossfade by Crossfade. Um, over time,
Interesting.
this album has absolutely grown on me. It's one of those albums, again, that you can listen to front to back, but you've already kind of explained it. There's a couple other songs that you didn't mention that I would put on here, like No Giving Up or The Deep End. Those songs are fantastic as well. But off to your number 7.
Number 7 is my hot take. It is Hot Dog Flavor Water
Oh
Chocolate
God!
Starfish by
Wow.
Limp Bizkit.
At
This
number
is my
7.
favorite Limp Bizkit album if y'all haven't known already.
God damn.
Um, yep, it's all because of WWE why I love this album.
Living it up.
WrestleMania 17,
Not giving a fuck.
obviously. Oh yeah, it's got great stuff on it. Hot Dog is a great song. Full Nelson is a pretty macho song if y'all like that. Very filled with monster energy. Um, yeah, it's a great album. I think it deserves to be in the top 10. Very legendary. And what is your number 7?
My number 7. I'm pretty sure you have this higher. I don't know though. If you even have it on the list, actually, this is Slipknot's self-titled at number 7.
I
For a
got
very long
slightly higher.
time, this was my favorite Slipknot album, but now it is relegated to number 2. Um, I love this record. Um, it's not like, I think it's the more consistent out of the two, which I'll spoil it if you don't already know. Iowa's higher. Um, Out of those two, Iowa is less consistent, but has better songs, and but this one is more consistent and it has slightly worse songs, you could say.
All right.
But I think it's a very solid record. Um, Obviously, Wait and Bleed is a trap banger classic, Trapaholics. Um, Spit It Out, fantastic song. Eyeless, sick, just off the top of my head. That's like the big 4 of that album. But yeah, and I think that's fine to give it a number 7 spot.
It's a legendary album.
Mm-hmm.
Number 6. You people are probably gonna hang me for this because it's not higher actually.
Hmm.
Um, my number 6 is Hybrid Theory by Linkin Park.
Oh. Oh shit.
How dare it not be in your top 3?
I'm hanging you
Uh,
for that. I'm gonna hang
Hybrid Theory
you.
is I mean, what can be said about Hybrid Theory that hasn't been said before? It's a very groundbreaking album in terms of just breaking into the mainstream. Linkin Park is definitely, I consider, like one of those big 4 bands, like the big 4 of new metal, if that can exist. Um, this this is the album people look to as like uh, the best. I mean, I can't really dispute you over that or discredit you. It's an amazing album. There's a couple filler songs, but I mean the ones that hit hard are like the ones you know and love, like Paper Cut. Um,
One step
uh,
closer to the edge, and I'm
yeah,
about to
one step
break.
closer, crawling in my skin. All of those great songs. That's my number six. So don't hang me.
I feel like
But it's
for these next picks, even if they are repeats, you can explain why you like them that much.
all
Um,
right.
at my number six, it's also Linkin Park, but it is Meteora by Linkin Park. It is their second album. Um, this album is kind of like Believe in a way. There is one big single off of it, and I think that's Faint. And
Well, there's like three,
like huge singles though. Like in the grand scheme of Linkin Park, all the songs that everyone knows are off Hybrid Theory.
I guess.
You could say this album is kind of like, um, it's like sandwiched in between their two most popular albums, kind of like Korn or Disturbed's Believe. Um, it's sandwiched in between two more popular albums, but I think this is their second best easily. Hybrid Theory has yet to show up on my list, I'll admit, but I believe Meteor, um, front to back, is so solid. It is fantastic. There's not a dull moment in this entire album. Even like the lesser known tracks like Figure Nine, and even like Don't Stay. Like those are just classic, hard hitting Linkin Park songs that reek of Kyle energy and body odor.
Yeah.
And I believe just out of its top five, just because it's not as groundbreaking or anything, and it's not as important as these next albums, but I believe it still deserves a place high on my top 10.
All right. Well, we're at the top five now. So my top five is a repeat. It is Slipknot's self-titled.
Okay, very
Uh,
close.
there's, I mean, you've already covered it in full, but I mean, it's a what can be said about this album? This album changed the game, in my opinion. This album inspired a lot of modern bands to sound the way that they do now, and it's just overall, it's just one of those albums where you got to listen to it. You just have to. Um,
It is a must listen
what
for
is your
sure.
number five?
My
Yeah,
number
it's a must
five
listen, everybody.
is also Slipknot. It is Iowa. This is the highest Slipknot album on here. It's
Oh,
at number five. Interesting, huh? Um, Iowa, like I said, is less consistent than their first record. I feel like there's a couple filler songs that maybe drag it down to the top three, but overall, what is on this album is probably the most raw, the most heavy new metal that's like still accessible. You know, with things like Taproot, Taproot's just garbage. They're sure they're heavy, but like the vocalist is bad. Um, but with Iowa, Corey Taylor is an excellent frontman. He elevates all of these songs. The instrumentals are just insane. They are so chaotic. Um, like some of these songs are like they have literally been described as death metal influenced, and honestly, yeah, it is so heavy. It's in your face. It's off the wall. It's batshit insane, and I think it's the best Slipknot album, and that's why it's number five because of those couple songs that kind of drag it away from the number three spot.
number four for me is Toxicity by
Ooh,
System of a Down.
interesting. Okay.
Uh, I mean, this album is just so iconic in a way. Nobody sounds like System of a Down. It's just a sound only they only they can produce. No one can replicate. Uh, I mean, you all know this album, and if you don't, you all need to listen to it. He's already gone over it, but it's a great album. What is your number four?
My number four is a little bit of a hot take. This is Adrenaline by Deftones. This is their first album.
Interesting.
This is one of those albums that has a couple filler songs, and maybe like two or three, but the songs that are fantastic lift it so high. And but there is a reason why it's not top three, and it's because of those songs. But I feel like it's the most underrated Deftones release. People like it, but it's never in the conversation of like Around the Fur and White Pony. And honestly, I think that's unfortunate because I love this album. Um, Front to back, it is solid. Towards the end, it drops off just a little bit, but it's not even like that noticeable anyway. And those songs are still solid and still good. If I were to recommend songs, it would be Engine Number 9, it would be Nosebleed, it would be Lifter, it would be literally anything within the first half of this album. Um, it is such a good album, and worthy of my number 4, and almost to my top 3, but it is time for your top 3.
My top three is my favorite Linkin Park album, Meteora.
Wow.
Yeah, I
Interesting.
like
Okay, all right.
I,
All
I
right.
like I like this edges out hybrid theory a bit more for me. Um, I mean, you've already gone over it. Very, very, very good new metal, alt rock. This was when they were more getting into their more radio rock kind of stuff, but not quite yet.
It's
It
a
still
healthy
got,
blend. It's like a blend of both.
yeah, healthy blend is a great word to describe it. Um, and all the filler songs are just they're awesome. They're all good. It's just an album you can listen to front to back, and I believe the vocals are at its peak. The rapping isn't too bad. It fits where it needs to fit. If it fits, it must have quit, and that is why number three is Meteora. What is your top three?
My number 3, Corn, self-titled, Corn by Corn.
Wow. All
Uh,
right.
this album is easily, like, so easily my favorite Corn album. Like Meteora, every single song is good. Um, there's maybe one or two songs that are slightly worse than others, but every single song is great. Every single song. It starts off with Blind, which is one of the best intro tracks in a metal album ever. Um, then you have songs like Clown or Shoots and Ladders or the one that I can't say on YouTube. And then at the very end, there's Daddy, which is one of the most haunting songs in that whole like genre, in my opinion. Like, it's so disgusting and it's heavy and it's gross and it's literally nasty, and it's just such a horrible but great song. And it's long. It's like uncomfortable to listen to, but in like a good way, you know. Um, but again, every single song is great. Even there's like sleeper songs on here that not many people know about, like Fake and Lies, that are just fantastic, and it just goes so hard. Um, and I think while those two songs kind of weigh it down from it being like number 1 or number 2, I think it's still worthy of being number 3 just alone with all those fantastic songs. So that's where I would put it.
All right. Well, you left me with nothing but repeats.
You
So
can still go over them. In fact,
number
I had
two,
nothing but repeats too.
number two is Iowa. You've
Mm.
already explained it in full detail. This is probably the heaviest new metal record in existence. Um, I mean, considering that this was made 22 years ago, it's pretty surprising how much it still holds up. Uh, there isn't a single song on here that could really be called filler for me. It's just all crazy ass heaviness, all blended together. Um, and Corey Taylor's rapping is still iconic.
he he um he did like go away from the rapping a little bit on this album, but it's still prevalent.
Yeah, yeah,
Um,
it's still prevalent.
like Heretic Anthem, for example. Fantastic song, by the way. He has a little bit of rapping and scrapping in it, but it's enjoyable. It's not to the point where it's super corny. It just adds to the
What's
song.
your number two?
So we have nothing but repeats. But my number two is Around the Fur by Deftones. Do people think that White Pony is my number one? It is not. I left out White Pony just because while it has some new metal on it, I feel like White Pony is talked enough to the point where, I mean, I don't really need to give it more praise, and I kind of want to
I
give other
agree.
bands a chance. Um, White Pony, either way, would maybe be tied with Around the Fur for me. I believe both albums are fantastic, but Around the Fur just maybe edges it out a little bit. It just depends on the day for me. Like you said, Around the Fur, front to back, is just fantastic. There's not a single moment in the song that's bad. Even the 36-minute long MX, even with the silence, you can just do something during that silence, and then it comes back for that hidden track, and then
Yeah,
that hidden
jerk off.
track is fantastic. So honestly, there's not a single song on this album that's bad at all. There's not even a single song on this album that's okay. I think every single song is at least fantastic, and that's why it's my number two.
All right, and
What is
here
the
we are.
the best new metal new metal album of all time? What is it?
Yeah, here we are. What you've probably waited like 2 hours to finally get to. My number one is Korn, self-titled.
Okay,
This
solid
is
pick. Very solid pick.
this is the album that literally started the genre itself. Um, it's it's iconic. There isn't a single bad song on this album. If y'all are just looking to get into new metal, which is, I mean, y'all probably already are already into it. This is the album to start with. The number one album. I mean, you've already gone through it and torn it to pieces. So I mean, it's. But yeah, this is number one for me.
All right, well, my number one. It goes against your unpopular opinion here. My number one is Hybrid Theory. That is the best
Wow,
new metal album in my opinion. Um,
interesting.
well, I do believe maybe there's a couple tracks near the end that are not as good as the rest of the album. Those tracks are still so good that you can still bump those tracks. You can still jam out to those tracks, and those are the weaker ones. Um,
Uh, yeah.
in my opinion, um, it's probably my favorite just because it's so solid and everything is so catchy and everything is so put together in such a way that makes it feel so complete. It is the best debut for a metal band ever, and I think I gave it like a 90 or like a 91 or something on my discography project. It is just so fantastic. Um, like you said, Paper Cut, One Step Closer, all good. Even the lesser known tracks like Runaway and trying to think of it. My brain is mush from reading all this new metal. Hold up,
A
I need
place
to
for
see
my
it.
head.
That's also a very solid song. Yeah, With You. There you go. With You is a fantastic song too. Also has the trap banger in the end. Everyone knows that song. It literally has like a billion plays or something.
God.
Yeah, it's just everything about this album to me is just fantastic. Um, and while I don't think any new metal album is perfect, including this one, it's as close to perfect as you can get, in my opinion. And I think that is why it's my favorite at number one.
All right. Well,
Wow,
that wraps it up.
that wraps up
Is
the list.
the
Um,
lit, the dreaded list.
you just made the list. Um,
Oh God.
is
Um, that
that
just reminds
foreshadowing?
me.
Is that
That
foreshadowing?
just that reminds me. We should do so. The next episode, we should probably do like a WrestleMania card like review
Oh,
and just like the
interesting.
state of wrestling itself.
Hmm.
Because
Interesting.
WrestleMania 39 is just around the corner,
Around the
ladies and
corner,
gentlemen.
Maggle. It's
It's the granddaddy of them all.
definitely a granddaddy. Fucking sucks.
Oh man, wrestling just is awful.
And let
But
this little period of time that we talk about wrestling be foreshadowing for the next episode. Um, next episode, we're gonna be talking about wrestling, a little bit of wrestling, you know. Um, still, we don't know quite yet what we want to do. Um, WrestleMania card is definitely up there. We could also do like a top 25 ish, so we can make it a little, um, a little bit shorter and talk about some other things in that episode, like top 25 wrestlers or top like 25 pay per views. That would be kind of interesting.
well, we should just compare just the old days, like the Attitude Era, Ruthless Aggression Era, to like basically everything now. Like I'd say like 2012 to present, this current
Yeah,
timeline that we're in. Um,
we're in the bad
I mean,
timeline.
yeah, we're in the horrible shit show timeline
Yeah,
that is the WWE. Wrestling sucks, ladies and gentlemen.
wrestling
Um,
sucks.
but
We
we should also do like I don't know because the draft is around the corner too, so I kind of want to do some like NFL predictions. That would be a good future episode.
that'll be pretty cool. I am down to do
Yeah.
that. Yeah,
So y'all should be staying tuned because we got some cool, tasty ideas coming out for you
yeah.
in the next couple months. We're not sure when next episode will come out,
It will
but
be soon. It will be within the next few weeks. How about that?
sounds pretty all right.
Sounds pretty
Well,
good.
thanks for sticking with us for so long,
Uh,
our
we haven't even
dear
hit the
audience.
2 hour mark. Honestly, I mean,
Oh, we haven't. Oh, I thought we
yeah, it's like
had.
155 or something. But still, I mean, solid first episode. Whatever you think, if you think our takes are trash, feel free to post your own so we can make fun of you. Um,
If you think our takes are trash, fuck you.
yeah, and also say which list you like more.
Yeah, but we're probably going to anger a lot of like people, namely Smarks, in the next episode.
Oh yeah.
Because
If you like modern wrestling, this next episode is not for you.
yeah, you might not want to tune in. But if you are an old school wrestling fan, you miss the glory days of wrestling. You might enjoy the next episode. We might run down the WrestleMania card. Um, yeah, definitely. I want to compare just the old state or the old wrestling to the new state it's currently in and just how night and day different it is. Um, but yeah, we're going to be covering music on this channel. We're going to be covering uh, just all sorts of stuff: wrestling, football, movies, um,
Music.
everything in between. Like whatever's worth talking about, we'll probably bring it up on here.
Yeah. Also, on top of that, Peter's Peeps podcast is also working in conjunction with Sobbing Guard Records.
Oh shit!
Yeah. I'm Will Peter, obviously. A Flex. Um, you're a little angry, aren't you?
Yeah, I'm a little angry.
He's a little angry.
Yeah,
Um,
I'm a little angry today.
he has a couple features out already. You should go check him out, especially our old buddies at First Blood. Check those guys
Oh
out as
yeah,
well. I will link our musical projects in the description below, so you can go check them out.
yeah, they
Um,
suck.
yeah, we suck at making music. We're terrible. But um, yeah, honestly, I think that's it for today's episode. Um,
Yep.
stay tuned. Hit that subscribe button. Hit that bell for future uploads.
Like, comment, and rate.
Yeah, rate our video out of 5 stars. But yeah, glad to have you guys with us. Thanks for watching, and we will make an episode in a couple of weeks. So stay tuned. So goodbye, y'all.
All righty. Make sure you save this recording, by the way.
I sure will. All right.